All right, so we started a series last week on the ArtSpeak core values. Core value number 1, this is about people. That is the foundation on which we are building everything else about our culture. In fact, I'll just show this here. The core values do have a sequence to them, an order to them. This is about people. That is the foundation. That's the why. That's why our mission is to reach people. Again, to recap that, it is about the people that we are reaching. It is also about the people that are the clients that we get to partner with as we do that work. And it is about the people here, the people on this team. And we believe that we can do this in such a way that all of them can thrive. And that's the goal, that this can be positive for everyone involved. So secondarily, building on that, we say that gratitude is our operating system. And it's second in the list for a reason. We'll get into that because I want to help us upgrade the operating system. You have an operating system. It is your nervous system. It's your brain and the nerves that connect your brain with the rest of your body. It is more than your brain. In fact, your brain doesn't do all of your important processing. It's connected to your heart and your eyeballs and the rest of your system. It's all connected. It's complicated. I don't understand it all. That is Dolly. Did a little experimentation here. So this is your personal operating system, and it is incredible. Your brain, your nervous system is, no pun intended, mind-blowing. In fact, what's funny here is, I don't know, on my screen, all I see is Jonathan and his reactions to my statements here. But your conscious brain processes 40 bits of information per second. 40 bits. That's not a ton. It works for us mostly. But the reason it works is because we also have our subconscious mind. That's using the entirety of our nervous system. And that system can process up to 20 million bits of information per second. 20 million. Which is, one, it's amazing. That's how we that's how we live. That's how we survive day to day, reacting to the world without overloading our conscious brain. Those are the systems that allow us to, without really thinking about it, calculate the trajectory of a ball flying through the air and moving our hands and fingers such that we can actually catch that. It's a system that allows a baseball pitcher to send the signal to release the ball 5 nanoseconds before it actually needs to be released and actually make it where it needs to go into the strike zone. Our subconscious brain is doing all of that processing for us, and it's really good at it, except when it's not. The scary thing about that is that a lot of the way that we react to the world around us is not controlled by our conscious thoughts. It's not controlled by our prefrontal cortex that has access to all of our stored information, all of our education, all of the way that we want to respond to the world. Those things are not necessarily driving the decisions and the reactions that we make day to day. Your subconscious brain is doing the vast majority of that. The problem there is that I can't find my mouse. Your brain is biased. That subconscious system is biased. It is biased towards the negative. And there's lots of psychological studies and neurological studies that have shown this to be true, that given the same weight of a positive thing and a negative thing, your brain weights that negative thing much more heavily. it focuses much more on anything negative in your surroundings. And it makes sense. That's your threat detection system. That is your brain looking out for you, trying to look around and figure out, is there something dangerous here? Do I need to run away? Do I need to fight it? Do I need to fix something else? Your brain is paying attention to all of those threats. That's compounded by the fact that we now carry around an external threat detection system that goes with us almost everywhere we go and has access to all of the threats all over the world, and they are there. And we can't seem to avoid seeing those threats all the time. And so maybe it's no surprise, the statistics here are incredible. 2008, 7.9% of young adults reported dealing with anxiety. By 2018, it had already doubled. Now, this is before the pandemic and any of that stuff. Before the pandemic, 2018, it had doubled to 14.6% of young adults. By 2020, it was at 36.4% of young adults said they were dealing with anxiety in the last 7 days. By 2021, it was 41.5%. And now it's as high as 57% of young adults say they dealt with severe anxiety in the last 7 days. That means statistically, at least half of us dealing with significant anxiety in the last 7 days. And so, and our brain is going to latch onto that. Our brain is going to focus on the negative around us, whether that's the news or whether that's something that someone said to you or anything negative that happened to happen in your day. Your brain will focus on that negative. The problem with that is that it's not an accurate picture of your entire reality. And in fact, it's going to push you into your flight or flight mode. This is polyvagal theory. That's basically your nervous system. Again, your nervous system as a whole, not just your brain, has 3 modes that it can operate in. And it's not on and off. It's not all or nothing. But you have your sympathetic mode. That's your fight or flight mode. In that mode, you have detected threats, and that activates a system which is designed to help you deal with threats. The problem is it may not help you deal with the threats that are actually around you in the modern world. This system is designed to help you fight or run away. It restricts your options to those categories. If after this goes on for long enough, you're in that mode for long enough, your body says, you know what, fighting or fleeing isn't working. I'm just going to go into shutdown. And this is where you find emotional states like depression, or just those times when you just can't do anything and just sitting there staring blankly. There's this another system, the ventral system. That's your social engagement system. That is where your nervous system feels safe enough to engage with others. So let's talk about your brain. Obviously, if you are in fight or flight mode, then you have restricted your brain's function to those base functions, literally at the base of your brain, that only know how to do 2 things. Let's fight about this, or let's run away. Now, that's not a mode that is conducive to creativity. It's not a mode that's conducive to help us deal with the real threats that we do experience, the real problems that are around us, because generally the right response is not to fight or to run away. Usually there is something more constructive that we could do if we got ourselves into a state where we are able to use our full brain to address the issue. And you've experienced this. I've experienced this a lot in parenting, where there are situations with your children or with my children. I'll just speak of mine, my child, where I find myself in fight or flight. And I realized later, gee, none of that was the right response. But in the moment, I could not think of a better way to respond. So what is the answer here? I'm going to say it's gratitude. Gratitude is the upgrade. Gratitude is what is going to help us overcome some of these modes and push us into the states of mind that are most beneficial to, one, be happy, to, actually, there's so many benefits here that we'll get to in a minute. And it's so well documented at this point. There's been so much research. You can just Google health benefits of gratitude. This isn't woo-woo. This isn't, oh, let's just think happy thoughts. The science is so robust that this is now considered one of the best return on investment that you can do for your own mental and physical health. If you spent 5 minutes practicing gratitude, that will do more for you than about anything else you could do in those 5 minutes. So, personally, it decreases anxiety and depression. It reduces your experience of pain. You may have chronic pain that is not going to completely go away, but gratitude actually can help you experience that pain less severely. It releases dopamine and serotonin. It gives you better sleep. In fact, if you get better sleep, there's few things in life that don't get better when you get better sleep, in my experience. Social. When you express gratitude for others, you build connections with others. It moves you into that ventral pro-social engagement space, and you begin to build neural pathways for that social engagement, where it helps you see other people as helps rather than threats to your nervous system. And so it improves your relationships. It increases generosity. It enhances empathy. And if you have looked ahead and know that one of our other core values is empathetic honesty, and the fact that we teach that empathy is the foundation for all effective communication, you can see why this is important to us. That practice of gratitude, particularly gratitude for others, helps increase your ability to be empathetic with others. Not just for that particular person, but in general. The problem with this setup is that it regularly steals my mouse cursor and I cannot find it. It also increases creativity. I think this is fascinating. Again, as you move into that ventral state of mind, you have better access to your entire brain, which of course allows you to see more possibilities. Also increases your energy and enthusiasm and motivation. And so, and we'll get to in a minute how this also affects teams. Teams that practice gratitude experience these, and even more so. And they've studied this, and I think it's fascinating. So, how do we do this? What does it take to experience the benefits of gratitude? So I'm just going to give you some suggestions to start with. There's lots of ways to practice gratitude, and I encourage you. Again, the internet now is just full of information about gratitude and different practices for gratitude and all the different health benefits. It keeps coming out more and more. But just some suggestions to start with. I'm going to start with you personally. And in fact, I'll share a personal story from my own experience. I've shared before my favorite personal habit. We had just, my family and I had just were going through a really difficult time that kind of happened all of a sudden. Just different factors in health, and which one of the smaller effects of this difficult ride, which was bringing a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear, a lot of questions about, okay, what happens next year. But one thing it meant that my commute to and from the office, which used to be about 9 minutes, now it was an hour both ways. And so suddenly I was spending a lot more time in the car. And at first, that was just by default, my negativity bias kicked in. And I'm driving, I'm frustrated by the fact that I'm having to drive that much, and all the time that meant. And I'm in the meantime, I'm also just going over the fears and the worries and the frustrations of the situation. And then I would get to work and I couldn't even concentrate. I couldn't focus on my tasks. Everything felt stressful. Everything felt overwhelming. But somewhere in there, I decided I was going to try something, that when I got in the car, I would decide to make myself smile. And as I'm driving along, I would smile. And at first it felt ridiculous. And then it felt fake. And then all of a sudden, I found myself automatically finding things to be grateful for, as if my brain was trying to figure out, why are you smiling? But coming up with reasons. I found myself by default, as I drove down the road, smiling, looking at road signs and finding gratitude for whoever picked that font that was so legible from even so far away. Gratitude for the fact that my steering wheel was comfortable to hold. Gratitude for the fact that there was a hospital near my home, that if I ever needed it, I could go to that hospital and that would be there for me. Finding gratitude for all of these little things. And as that began to happen, it just happened easier and easier. Gratitude for the sunlight streaming through those trees. Gratitude for the fact that someone planted trees there. And by the time that I would get to the office, it was obvious. People literally told me I was glowing, not physically, but it changed my whole outlook. It was as if I had found a way to generate my own happiness on command, almost at will, by just allowing myself to find that gratitude. I found that smiling habit helped me get there. But I think the key there is the gratitude. And so start your day with gratitude. Many people tell you this first thing when you wake up. I've heard of others, some mentors in my past, that would think of 10 things to be grateful for before they even let their feet touch the ground as they get out of bed in the morning. Or last thing at night, which if you're having trouble sleeping, maybe that'd be a great time to practice some gratitude as you're going to bed at night and think through some gratitudes. Many people keep a gratitude journal where you're writing down a number of things that you're grateful for every day. Some people ratchet up the challenge level there, where they're trying to write down new things to be grateful for every single day. That's a way to start. But studies show that this gets even better when you bring in other people, when other people are involved. Studies show that the benefit of that personal gratitude practice, that's good, but far more beneficial is gratitude with others. When you are expressing gratitude out loud for someone else, one, that's beneficial for you, even more beneficial for the person that's hearing that. And it's no surprise that hearing someone express gratitude for you feels amazing. But it's more than just an ego stroke. That gives you a sense that you are connected to others, that you matter, that you're significant, that you have good people around you, have other people around you who see you and appreciate you, and builds relationships. You can do this by writing a letter. I think I don't do this as much as I want to, but there have been times in my past where if I've had that thought, like, wow, this person that I knew 10 years ago, I'm thinking about them right now and the effect that they had on me. I'm going to write them an email right now. And the amazing conversations and connections that can happen just from some little note out of the blue. And then I encourage you to make it a habit. Figure out how can you make that a habit in your life? Is there a trigger that you can create for yourself to take a moment to express that gratitude to someone else? And that could be, maybe it's with your family. Maybe it's with friends, coworkers. We'll get to team expressions here in a minute. But yeah, dinner time. Great suggestion, Uriah. There's a lot of chat going on, but I'm missing it because I'm still getting used to this setup. Make it a habit. Figure out a trigger that signals to your brain, oh yeah, I'm going to express gratitude right now. And with the team, here at ArtSpeak, we've made the decision that we begin meetings with gratitude. In fact, our all-team meeting, the state of the art, we call it, it's half an hour long, happens every single week. And there are 30 plus people on that call. And so just from an economic standpoint, that's an expensive call as a business. And yet I think the 15 minutes that we give, that first half of the call that we allocate to just sharing gratitudes, I think is entirely worth it and then some. Because it puts into practice that we're going to share that gratitude, that we appreciate each other, that we are a team and we're not in this on our own. It's also just super practical. Like the studies show that teams that practice gratitude with one another generate more ideas and better ideas. Teams that practice gratitude are more creative. Teams that practice gratitude handle mistakes better. And that makes sense because it helps foster a sense of psychological safety that says we're a team, we see each other, we appreciate what we are doing for each other, and that creates a space where it's okay to make a mistake and admit it, and then let's correct it together as a team. Where it's okay to share a risky idea that maybe it's a bad idea, but it doesn't matter. We could share that anyway. What's interesting also is that I mentioned that, of course, there's a huge psychological benefit to receiving someone giving a gratitude out loud. It's also beneficial for other people who are not the gratitude giver in that case and not the gratitude receiver, but are just there listening to it. They also experience some of the same psychological benefits because there are mirror neurons. There is a narrative that's being expressed that they are participating in empathetically. And even that secondhand gratitude has benefits. And so we practice gratitude. We practice gratitudes in meetings. I practice gratitudes for people that I meet with. And so if I'm about to go into a meeting, I like to take a few minutes if I can and just be grateful for the people that I'm about to meet with. I find that helps me move from task mode to people mode. That helps me activate that empathy so I can come into that meeting ready to engage with a person rather than just let's conquer a task or a problem. And so some other habits that you might put into your work habits. Maybe you consciously take a moment at the end of the day to write a thank you Slack message to someone. Could be just brief. Hey, thanks for your message there. Thanks for getting that done. Thanks for the great work here. And don't assume that people know you're grateful. I think this is an easy thing to trip over, to feel grateful for someone's work and assume that that person knows how grateful you are that they did that, or how grateful you are for a friend or a family member. don't assume. Because even if they do kind of know, there is such power in hearing it out loud. There is such power in you expressing it out loud. And as a team, of course, this helps us celebrate each other and celebrate the good things that are happening here, and help us as a team, again, overcome our negativity bias, see the positive going on around us, remind us that we are part of a team. We are working on this together, pushing forward together, accomplishing things together. And together, we can be more creative and more effective and accomplish great things. Awesome. That's my presentation, brought to you by DALL-E. Yes. And but I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts. I know there's a lot going on in the chat right now. I again cannot find my mouse cursor. So I'm going to ask a couple questions here. Where have you found, what effects have you found gratitude to do in your life? And two, what are gratitude habits that have worked for you?
Kirk, I think to your point, switching from task to people mode, I think that's key for me anyway, because I can treat people like tasks. I think everyone can fall into that, but it's very challenging. It challenges my natural mode of work to wait, okay, I got to switch to being with people. So that's what it does for me. That challenges me usually to, like, I have to stop and think. Like, honestly, state of the art gratitudes are really tough for me, because I'm like, crap, I'm like, who am I grateful for? So because I've been trying to keep a note just kind of accessible on my desktop of like what I'm grateful for each week. So I have stuff to bring to calls. It's slowly functioning. We're getting there. Yeah, one of the practices I do, I have on journal on my computer and phone or whatever, and I just made a template to where the first thing I do when I journal is bullet points of gratitudes. And I made it so that before I get to any, like, just, dumping all my thoughts, I do gratitudes first. So, and it helps get me out of the funk. So my journals aren't long tirades of negative things.
My husband and I don't know if this is a habit, but we have worked to always say thank you, even when we're doing the like normal tasks and chores around the house. That, like, he's so great at taking out the trash. A lot of times I'm the one taking care of dinner, and we waited so long to get married, so we just don't want to take it for granted, because you just get into that rhythm. So I think it's really helped us be, just not take things for granted and keep our focus on, like, wow, look what we still have. It keeps the spark. It keeps it sweet.
That's really good, Libby. And I'll second that for us. Like, I just noticed the power when my wife says thank you for something that I normally do, or is my chore. It's my job to do around the house. But the fact that she says thank you is great. And so if we were able to say thank you to each other for those things that are just, well, that's normal. It's every day. It goes with that assumption thing. And I think that could apply to in this team as well, where, well, of course, that's their job. They do that. Say thank you. Yeah.
Kirk, I can definitely say that I've simplified my gratitudes. And the more you experience different things and talk to different people and go to different places, the more grateful you are for small things. So, like, case in point, being quarantined in Africa, while I really wanted a great Africa experience, was not my favorite part of my summer. Third world country, if you got water, you didn't get to pick the temperature. Like, if the water was there, it was there. If it wasn't, meh. So just being grateful for hot showers, or just looking at air conditioning differently, or the things that that I take for granted in my day to day, but not everyone has.
Yeah. It's always those everyday conveniences that suddenly we don't have them for a minute, and we realize how amazing it is that there is running water available at any given moment. Yeah.
I wanted to point back to something you said at kind of the beginning too, Kirk, when you were talking about when you would drive into work and like kind of the cloud of negative emotions by the time that you got to work just kind of produced a state of like, I don't even know where to start. And that's become a really helpful like trigger, I guess, for me of like self-reflection of if I'm feeling really brain foggy or like just lost, that like it's a moment probably that I need to take a step back and be like, okay, what are the things that are causing this cloud over my mind? Like, because yeah, I don't know how that psychology works of like why gratitude really like opens us up. I'm sure it has a lot to do with how God created us and that he knows that about us. But it's incredible how like almost instantaneous that experience is of like switching from a state of like the entire world is against me when it's really not to in the exact same moment identifying a few things to be grateful for and being like, oh, everything's okay. Like I can go back to work. Things can be fine. And that's been really helpful is letting those moments be those triggers, although that I don't want to get to that point if I can avoid it. But when it's there, knowing that that can be a helpful, I guess, way to address it.
Yeah, and your awareness of your state is such a helpful tool. And so if, as an admonition, I talked about those three different states, the sympathetic, your fight or flight state, your dorsal shutdown state, and your ventral state. Like sometimes you get that message and you immediately feel, to me, it feels like there's like this tightening in the chest and, physiologically, I can feel that change in my body. And that's my brain and my nervous system detecting a threat. And if you can detect that, if you can realize, oh, I know it just happened, I went into sympathetic, that can be a cue that, okay, maybe my initial my initial reaction here is not the best one. Maybe I need to give this a minute, step away. Maybe I need to practice some gratitude right now. And sometimes there's interpersonal friction going on. And in that moment, you're going to be focused on whatever that negative is. If you can bring some gratitude in, even with whatever person maybe you're interacting with here, and practice gratitude for them or past positive interactions, then you can diffuse that, move back into a ventral state, and maybe find some more creative solutions to whatever is actually happening here.